Welcome to Soul Rising. We're your hosts, Amy and Erin. We're two everyday mediums who are passionate about taking the woo-woo out of spirituality and bringing it down to earth. So put the kettle on, grab a chair, and join us.
Hey everyone! Welcome to episode 36 of Soul Rising.
Woo. I love 36. That's actually my favorite number. I don't know if I've ever told you about that. Yeah.
No.
I don't know why. I just really like that number.
About it.
Something about it.
I wonder if your 36th year will be really magical.
Oh, maybe. Guys! I hope so.
Probably.
Hope so. Okay, we're putting it out there right now.
Get your manifest on.
I don't know why I wanted to like shimmy. Like that was my gut reaction. You missed that.
It's just the energy. We're like hyped up. So we just recorded the last episode where we batch record. So we're really in this like elevated energy.
Yeah. What happens too, I think, is like we see each other, we talk, and like we talk here and there, but then like we meet, you know, what is it, every 2 weeks? And then because we don't see each other, we're like, oh my God, and this and this and this and this and this, and it's like a big gab fest.
And then we end up talking about it on the podcast. So you truly are like,
you're just
a teammate with us for sure. Yeah.
Amy, did you see that? You did not.
What happened?
I saw another orb.
Do you know what's funny is your mother?
Okay, I was just going to say, shout out to Cheryl. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Your mother messaged me, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago. And she said, I think it was the episode with Nikki's episode, the last one. And she goes, something went through your screen. And I said, did it? And she's like, yes. And she goes, I kind of got in my logical head where I was like, maybe it wasn't that. And then I watched it and I was like, no, I just want to validate. I saw it too.
Yeah.
But you've seen things on my
I've seen things on your screen. Why is there no orbs in here? Come on.
They'll come. You know what's funny though is I feel like there's a correlation. So in between the recordings, we kind of had a quick little, I wanted to update Erin about something, and we were talking about my father.
That's so true.
Right. And then so I feel like I'm gonna put it out there. So we're gonna notice. You guys pay attention too. The people that are viewing this on YouTube. Do the orbs happen or things happen with the screen after I talk about somebody in spirit, specifically my father? Okay, because I feel like there's something there.
Yeah,
Are you like waiting? You're like,
okay. Maybe it's just because now I'm like we're talking about it. We're always talking about spirit, but I feel like maybe because we're talking about the spooky stuff, or it's not spooky, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Energy. I don't know if you feel like there's somebody with you right now.
Do you feel somebody with me right now?
I feel like there's somebody with you right now, and I'm wondering if you feel him in the same area as I feel him.
So
this is almost like a clairvoyance test.
Yeah, no, as you're saying that, I'm feeling something in my shoulders and my back. As if somebody's standing behind me, leaning against me, or putting their hands on my shoulders.
Okay. Yeah. That's really cool, because I also I don't know if either it was a trick of the light, if somebody's maybe moving upstairs. I don't know if the door is open to the basement upstairs. I swear to God, I thought that I saw the shadow move. So some people are going to have to like look back and see if maybe it's just my eyes, because we're talking about things, which is very possible. Okay.
But we always say spirits a thought away. So we think about them and they come.
And they come through, because I saw some shadow play on your stairs.
It doesn't surprise me. You know what's funny? Okay. We have to give an update because so something that happened. So in the last episode, I talked about the fact that I had treated myself to a reading with another medium and like some things that came through, and I talked about it in the last episode. And I was sharing with Erin some of my notes from the reading and things that have come through. So those of you that have been listening since very early on, like probably one of the earlier episodes, I've talked about like a dog. And every mediumship reading I've ever had with another medium, the medium brings through that my father has a dog with him. Every single one.
And remember all of your experiences with your neighbor's dog. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember the dog walking situation. If you guys aren't familiar with this, like I'll in the show notes, I'll make a note.
But listen to the
Yeah. Because I talk all about like very weird experiences with like dogs, like a specific dog. In the neighborhood. Anyhow, so I had this mediumship reading and things were coming through from my dad about, again, she validated, like every other reading I've ever had with other mediums, that my dad really is helping me with my mediumship and my business every time it comes through. And some guidance and advice about things to kind of work towards and move towards, specifically like events and like retreats and all of these things that are on my radar for like, my 5-year plan kind of thing. And really getting back into my Indigenous roots. So my dad was Indigenous Canadian, as am I, and I'm kind of starting to like reclaim that part of myself. And she was bringing through a lot of encouragement around that. And that, I kind of already have that, I have some elder wisdom within me, is what she was saying. And that one day she kind of saw that I would be recognized that way in some sort of way, which is really exciting. But the thing that I was sharing with Erin, and I want to update you with, is she said, do you have a dog in spirit? And I said, no, but I kind of smirked, right? And she said, okay, because your dad said he has your dog here. I said, he does have my dog there. It's just a dog that I haven't met yet. Right? Like he's holding on to the dog. Yeah. Till we're ready to get that dog. So I thought that was cool.
I love that too. Because we've always just talked about the dog, and to have somebody read you who doesn't know you.
Knew nothing.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is probably like the 4th, or I want to say 5. So I'm going to say 5. The 5th time somebody has picked up on that. Somebody has said that to me, including the very first time that ever came through was from an acquaintance of mine that I've never met in person. That's been a Facebook friend for probably like 15 years, since we were pregnant with our first babies.
Yes.
She messaged me and she said, I had this dream about your dad last night. So weird. It's like, I've never met your dad. I haven't even ever met you, but I feel like compelled to tell you about this dream. And in it, my dad had a dog, sat at her kitchen table, told her all about things, had the dog, and said, this is Amy's dog. And when she's ready to have the dog is going to go to her.
Oh, and God, that just makes me want to cry.
He was not I think she probably does have some medium abilities, right? But she was not anybody that would think that, she was or anything. This was just a random dream.
No reason to have a dream basically about your father, who she's never done, and about a dog being there.
Yeah, like very random, right? Like no real. It's not like we talk daily or anything. She's honestly an acquaintance, right? So it's very strange. But that was like 4 years ago. And so it's come up every single time I've had a reading.
Wow. And I love that.
And I love it too. It's magical.
Validation.
That dog gets here.
I know. I'm excited for the dog.
I think it's going to happen in the next 2 years. I feel like, because we're kind of like, 2 animal people, and we have 2 cats right now because we have 3 kids, right? It's like there's a lot going on, and we're going to relocate summer. Yeah. And it's kind of like, especially one of our cats is going to be 19 in September.
Oh my gosh.
And so I know like she's not going to live forever, right? And it makes me very sad. But at the same time, I feel like when we're over that and she's transitioned, then it will be dog's time. So I feel like we're kind of in that 2-year range. Yeah, we'll be really ready for the dog. But I want to hear your update about
Ghost. I don't know why I'm going to call him Ghost Dad.
Okay, I like that.
He was probably a father, maybe to somebody, maybe.
So which episode was this? Was this last episode?
Was this 30? Yeah, this was 34.
Okay, yeah, I think it was 34. So episode 34, Erin kind of
2 episodes ago, or 1 episode ago. Yeah,
2 now.
2 now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Erin kind of talked about her lights going off, and then in the moment we kind of were channeling some things from him.
Yes.
We think it is. Yeah.
So didn't find really anything. Like, I don't know if there was a male owner of this house. I don't know that. I have to like really go to the archives.
Yes.
I asked Alex about the birthday card. The birthday card is like a rhyme to, oh gosh, I don't even think it says the name, but it says on your birthday, when you feel like you're something about going to bed and getting ready, wear this nice striped pajetti or something. Striped pajama.
Humorous card. Yeah.
It's a humorous card, but it's signed by an Irene, not a Rose. But so we had that conversation, okay? And probably, oh God, when did this happen? I'm trying to get my timelines right up. And I just feel there is this skeptic in me, okay? There's this skeptical side in me that's like, that, why? There's like, why would that happen again? Okay. Yeah. I think it was after I was talking to my mom about it, because I was talking to my mom about this experience, because she had brought it up like, oh, I love that you're this older man who's watching over you guys. I was like, I love it too, bring on all of the positive energy, right? The supportiveness. And I think that day or that night we were getting dinner ready. And the same light, okay, that was on, that turned on when we were watching the movie at some point, I don't know when, was turned on again.
Mm-hmm.
But so I told you they changed colors. It was the red light.
Mm-hmm.
And there is the skeptical part in me, because I know I was showing my mom the lights and saying it turned on, like, look, they changed color, blah, 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 blah. But I had turned it off. Like it wasn't on, because if it was on, I would see that the color was on. Right.
Right.
So there is a part of me that's like, did I go back and for some reason, like, just turn it on, or did I press it too many times? I don't know. Like, there's that part of me, right? That's like trying to rationalize it.
Yeah.
Because what are the flippin' chances that the same light turns on? It's just a different, it's the second color. I think it's like red. It's red. It turned red. So it was odd. And Alex, of course, jokes and he goes, it's the ghost in our house. And I was,
Yeah.
So that happened, which is just, the timing of everything is just so interesting. I think it's him. I think it's him again saying, I know we're talking about me. Like, I know you know that I'm here.
Yeah.
And
I think the timing is not a coincidence.
Right?
Yeah. But I also love that you're sharing this part of you that's skeptical.
Yeah.
Because I always say, like, skepticism can be healthy.
Yes.
Right?
And even mediums have skepticism.
It's very normal. Yeah. Like when we talk about like trying to make sense about energy or sorry, not energy, evidence, right? And like, that's too weird. Like, that's not going to make sense. We're trying to rationalize it ourselves. That's like that skeptical. It's kind of a little bit of a skeptical energy, right? It's really normal. So even if somebody that like does this work and feels very confident that, yes, I'm communicating to a spirit, there's still a level of the logic go, but is it, you know, like, that's why, like I've shared before, like I personally don't, very often read close friends or family. I don't personally intentionally sit here and ask to connect to my father. Right. Like my father, I feel like comes in on his own when I need him. Right. But I don't sit here and go, okay, like I want my dad to come through in this moment, because I think what happens is your logical side goes, you're just making this up. You're just recalling a memory. This is what you want to happen.
It feels harder sometimes when it's family. Yeah. Cause when you're close to that person, because and I loved, and I think I talked about this before, I loved like the Tyler Henry mediumship, I think what's called After Death or something, something like that. He talks about that too, right? Like he talks about, he doesn't read his family. Because he's too close to it. So I really think it's
interesting, like, and
Yeah.
also that you're sharing that aspect, because
Yeah.
some people don't understand that. They're like, what do you mean? Like, if you can talk to your dad all the time, like, why aren't you talking to your dad all the time, right? It's like,
Yeah.
there's just an
And I
aspect.
mean, I'm sure you
Also,
talk to your
I
dad, but it's
do.
in different.
It's in a different way. It's not like I'm sitting here like I would for a reading,
Yeah.
right? And have like
Yeah.
all this evidence and things come through. That's why I
Yeah.
said I feel like he comes through to me in different ways. And I do
Yes.
talk to him like in
Yeah.
my head at certain times, but it's not the same kind of like
Yeah.
intention.
It's interesting because I've heard that, and I have to be on, like, I'll be honest, I give readings to like family and
I
friends.
don't find it as much of a
There are certain things where I feel like when it's personal information, like let's say for example about my grandmother, okay, she's an older woman, right? There's a lot. I'm too close to it, right? And so sometimes when there's questions about, are you picking up anything on that, I won't get anything because I'm very close to it. But I think there's certain things that it's like I'm fine tapping into, that I feel like it comes through. But then I think there's other things, even with friends, like I'll say, listen, I think it's because I'm not getting anything, but I think it's because I'm too close to this
situation.
scenario that I'm not getting things. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I'm also not meant to know.
Yes.
I think that's part of it. Yeah. I don't, for me, it feels like it's maybe less about family and friends and maybe more about, but that's for me, like for more about like specific things or scenarios or things that are, possibly going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, we'll have, it's interesting that, that happened on that day with that timing. I do personally feel like it's connected to him for sure.
It's
I'm
weird
a little
timing
suspicious.
though, right?
Yeah.
He's a little, guys, I just learned what sus was too.
Yeah, my kids say that all the time. And that's what I was
A
going
little
to say.
sus.
Like, no, I'll just say suspicious.
Suspicious.
It's a little sus.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. It's
But
a little
anyways,
suspect.
that's my update with that.
Very
So I'll
cool.
see if anything else happens.
Get your butt sometime when you have free time. I know you're a very busy person. One day, go to the archives.
I do really want to.
Because
On
I
top
have
of
this
getting
vision.
family info.
Yeah, I have this vision of the two of us because, like, if you can believe it, Erin and I have never met in person. So we live about 3 hours apart, and
we only live 3 hours away.
I know, but a lot of it's been COVID.
It's just
nonsense.
yeah, because we met during the height of
during
the
pandemic, yeah, in 2020. So we are going to get together at some point, and like probably,
and shenanigans will occur.
But I just, while we were talking, I was like, how cool would it be if we like went to the archives, or if we went to a certain building and was like, took like video of what we were doing and like sensing things. I think that would be really cool.
Okay, so we have to do that.
We have to do that.
Yeah.
Like plan like almost like a weekend or something one day.
Yes.
Yeah. Where it's like
go to locations.
Yeah, go to a couple different places, go see what we can find at the archives.
Okay, there's a haunted Airbnb. I'll send you the link after the show.
Wow.
And no, it's in, oh gosh, where? It's in Ontario. It's I think it's closer to you.
Okay.
East
side.
Penegoshway?
Oh no, that's not north near Barrie?
Is that near Barrie?
I think so.
I'm gonna have to look it up. Anyways, but there, and it just says like haunted.
That'll be like a road
trip. Maybe we could, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that is up towards Barrie.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Don't quote me. Just think so.
Never mind.
So there's our updates. Today we're going to continue our chat about the clairs, which are the our inner senses, right? So last week we talked a bit about clairvoyance, clairseeing. Today we're going to talk about clairaudience, which is clear hearing. So it's kind of like the inner hearing. It's like hearing, maybe you hear your dad's voice, maybe you hear your own voice, whatever it is. There's
maybe
words.
You hear some animal voices.
There's words, right? Or maybe some people would say it's connected if you get like ringing ears around
Yeah.
places, or where energy, like frequency,
Stuff
right?
like that.
Or things like that. So some things I wrote down is like, it's it's a psychic sense. It's connected to this inner hearing. Something that I share often that sometimes people are surprised by is because sometimes, like, say I'll do a reading. It's funny because I'm about to do a reading, I think on Friday afternoon. And the person in it, like when they were booking, said, or no, I think after they booked, they messaged me and they said, I forgot to mention the people in spirit that I want you to connect to, I'm hoping to connect to, did not speak English. Is that going to be a barrier? And I said, no, it shouldn't be. Because the language of spirit is energy. So I will hear in my own language, in my own in my own head. And so she's like, oh, okay. But sometimes I'll, in a reading, I'll say, okay, like I feel as if this person had a gravelly voice.
Yes.
Right. And it's sometimes, yes, I will hear a tone, but more often than not, it's almost just like a feeling that this person
like,
had.
because you can kind of feel it. Maybe that's another Claire, right?
I think that might be clairsentience.
Sentience. Okay.
Like I said, I utilize them all and they're very blended.
I think they're very interconnected too.
Yeah. But sometimes I'll say, was this person like French? Would they have had an spoken French or had a little bit of an accent? And they'll say, yeah. And it's not that I'm hearing per se somebody talking in the French language. It's a sense that they did. But the reason I'm telling you this story is because oftentimes people are surprised when they say, okay, so like you're hearing his actual like speaking voice. And I will say, sometimes, but right now, like that's within the realm of possibility. But more often than not, I hear what they say in my head voice.
Yeah.
And that, I feel like, for people that don't do this work, is something that is kind of like, whoa, really? And I feel like that can trip some people up if they are developing, maybe their own clear senses is what I meant to say. That they might go, okay, but I'm not hearing his voice, therefore I'm not hearing spirit.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in their voice. I think it's more commonly in your own.
Yeah.
Right. Would you agree with that?
I would agree.
What you experience too in your readings?
Yeah. Yes. And I feel like sometimes it's interesting because it really, really and truly, it feels like, and it really, it's I feel like for the most part, hearing is in the mind, like it's in my mind's eye, but it really does feel like it's like, I can't turn that radio up high enough. I can kind of hear it.
It's just, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because and this is like, I found this, but like I also hear other mediums talking about this, about how names can be really tricky.
Yes.
This is just like a rule of thumb for like most, if not all, mediums, right?
It's
sometimes
hard to get that.
It comes in, it's like, yes, like, do you remember in Nikki's reading where you were like,
sometimes they're bang on, right? Like,
right?
Whoa.
And it was like, whatever I can't remember the man's name that you brought forward, but it was very, very clear, this name. And it's like, yeah. And then sometimes it's like, shows me an eye, sounds like Irene, but not Irene, right? And it's like something that starts with an eye, right? I think there's like no rhyme or reason for it.
No. And I laugh because how many times have you seen a show on TV and the medium on TV is like, does it start with an A? No. B, C, D, E, F.
It's usually not that bad in real life.
It's really not, but I can't help but laugh because, or like I was watching one show and it was like, it starts with a D, and the guy goes, yeah, it's Dad, it's my dad, and she goes, yes, Dad, that's
right.
So it's,
you know what that reminds me of, though, which is really funny, is the reading I talked about in the last episode where I gave the clairvoyant evidence that came through with like the white feather and the white.
Yes.
And the message was really about white, and that was her favorite color and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Something that came through in that is when the person that they really wanted to speak to was not the first person to come through, which is also really common. Somebody else came through that was like a friend of the mom or something like that, right? And so not what they expected, but still like happily took the message. And then when I got to the person that they wanted, I should mention as well that I don't know who they want.
Yes,
Like
no.
before. It's
We don't ask, yeah.
we don't ask. So it's
Yeah.
just like, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I have a male here. He feels older to me. And then I looked at the woman and I said, you have a spouse in spirit. And yes, I said, okay, feels like your spouse. Okay. And then I wanted to stay with him longer. And I said, did his name start with G? Because I keep getting G. I don't know if it's trying to get me to like grandpa, right? Because the granddaughter was there as well. I said, but I feel like he's saying yes, yes, yes. So G, maybe for grandpa, because his first initial didn't start with a G. But then after she shared with me, she goes, I know why he gave you G right away. And it's because I called him G Dog. And I was like,
oh my God, see?
Right? So he's G,
Yeah.
right? Like he's G. It's
He's
me.
G.
It's G, but I'm also
G.
grandpa, right?
Yeah.
I got big goosebumps as I said that. But those kind of things can come through like that too. It shouldn't be too much guesswork. Like I feel like if I'm getting,
you're not going down the alphabet.
no, I'm not. So I'll go, okay, I get, if she didn't tell me I called him G Dog, I would have just left it. I wouldn't have been like, okay, so it's not G. So is it D? Is it E? Is it, like, I wouldn't have done that. I'd just be like, you know what? He gave me G. It's G. I don't know what it means. I'm just giving it to you. It's G, right? Like G. Much like the medium that I had the reading with, that I talked about in the last reading, that was like, he's bringing through this person. I'm like, no, I don't think so. And she's like, he's adamantly, this is it. And she left it. And then later I was able to validate it. So I'm learning to do that more rather than go, okay, so it's not G. And I'm like, what is it?
What is it, guys? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if the reason, if you're not getting, I have to learn this too. Like if I'm not getting anything else, maybe that's just the message. That's it.
Well, what's interesting is I think I mentioned in the last episode that I was like watching this live or this Zoom call that somebody had put up on an Evidential Mediumship Facebook page. And I was watching it, and there was an evidential medium who I really, really gravitate towards. And I messaged her today, and I was nodding my head the whole time you were talking. She's like ethical mediumship, right? Like really what we would stand for. And so I just wanted to say, like, I love your messaging. But she was talking about, one of her students had asked a question about, what do we do? How do we validate somebody's existence? How do we address it if somebody comes in genderless or non-binary, like binary? How does that come through? And anyways, there was this long talk about things. And then she said, sometimes the absence of you getting the gender is in fact the evidence.
The evidence.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the fact, because very often the first thing a medium's going to get is like, I feel like I have a male here. I feel like I have a female here. Like that's very often one of the first things that we get. So the student had said, like, I didn't know what to do because I didn't get it. And it really threw me off because I'm like, who are you? But the evidence was, I'm neither. I'm both. I'm all of the above, right? So
my pronouns are they, them. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And it also kind of had my wheel spinning where I'm like, sometimes the absence of the black or white, like this or this, is the
answer.
Isn't that kind of a light bulb thing? I'm gonna think about that forward.
Absolutely.
I'd be missing a piece because we're trying to fit it in a box.
There is truth in the silence.
Yeah. I know. I almost was like, I think I just up-leveled my mediumship in some way. Like, I don't know. I think that's going to be very helpful moving forward. And I'm sure that Spirit will give us examples of that now that we talked about that.
now that we get it, watch it's all the readings.
I know. Yeah. Like, we're going to school.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Have you had any experiences though where you have heard Spirit?
Yes.
Okay. Me too.
It's not like a conversation. It's more like, somebody's here. I heard somebody say my name, or I heard,
it's like,
or something, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that I was like, I have on the list to talk about too. Like, so sometimes you might hear something like somebody saying your name, or I know that's happened. Did that not happen when you were sleeping or something?
There's another orb. I just saw it.
Did you? Hello, Dad.
Yeah. My first experience was with my grandfather who said my name when I was sleeping.
Yeah.
Okay. In my left ear. Still remember. And then I started hearing like spirit voices.
Yeah.
spirit
Like,
voices.
so their voices, or was
Their
it
voices.
their voices?
I just was hearing like people were having a conversation. And again, it was that radio analogy of like, I can't just turn the volume up. I can't. And nobody would be in the house.
Yeah.
Nobody would, the windows would be closed. It's not like it's coming from outside, because you can also kind of differentiate. It literally is like somebody is talking in the next room, but I can't, or it's like my neighbors are having a conversation, but I can't like hear what they're saying.
You can hear the
I can actually hear the converse.
you
I
can
can hear the
you
mumbles.
can hear the mumbles. Yeah. Sometimes it's very much like that. And sometimes it's really loud and clear.
Yeah, like a few times, very recently, I've been. It kind of, I think, and it happens when I'm really worried about something, and I think it's definitely just a reminder of like, hey, we got you. You're good. Like you're gonna be okay. And it's always just very quick. It's hey,
It's like, hey, I'm here.
hey.
I gotcha.
Ooh,
Yeah.
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 I just keep looking over my shoulder, like I'm like, okay, something's like in the corner of my room. And my mom and I have both actually have heard cats
Really?
meowing.
Do you have cats
Yeah.
in spirit? No.
The funny thing, I have one cat in spirit. One. That's it. But the funny thing is that, and I remember this so vividly, okay? I can see, I'm in my parents' place. My parents both have 2 cats. So I grew up with 2 cats. I'm with both of them, like in the room. I'm petting Felix is one of their names. And I hear a meow. I hear a meow. And that was at the same moment where my mom had said she saw a cat walk up the stairs, and it wasn't Felix or Leo to their names.
But has somebody lived in that house before your parents?
Yeah.
So maybe it's a ghost cat.
Ghost cat.
The house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it hasn't happened since, but it was very clear.
Yeah.
My cats are not meowing.
Yeah.
I can see them.
Yeah.
I'm petting one, and I hear cat voices. And that was like just after the day my mom told me she saw a cat.
Very cool.
That's cool, eh? Yeah.
Really cool.
So
hearing voices, like maybe you just hearing that, right? Maybe clairaudience can also be something that I was reading about is interesting. It was talking about like people that have a vivid internal dialogue, like if you're kind of having this right, like talking,
like I'm talking to myself all the time, yeah.
right? Like that can be connected to clairaudience as well.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I can see
like
that for
hearing,
sure.
okay, you should do this, right? And you're hearing it in your head voice, so maybe you're thinking, okay, like this is me thinking that, but it's something else.
What's so funny is, and maybe it is me in some way, I think it's my guides, but if I need to remember something, I'm like, okay, guides, I need you to help me remember this. Can you remind me tomorrow to do this? And sure enough, I'll forget about it. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I got to do that. Thanks for reminding.
We all have to do that now. We're all gonna do that, and like we'll report back.
Forget the phone. Just ask your spirit guides, you guys. They're great reminders.
Well, it goes back to just like to what we say is like, our spirit guides are there to assist, but we have free will, so they can't butt in. They can't.
You gotta ask.
You gotta ask.
Ooh, getting chills.
So yeah, maybe we just go, hey, Matthew. Remember, I got Matthew and I got Lila, right? So it's like, hey, Matthew, Lila, remind me on Thursday at 2 p.m. that I have a dentist appointment, right? Yeah. Like. Actually at 1:30, so I have time to get there.
Yeah.
We'll
make sure it's it's true.
Maybe it's as simple as that.
Just ask.
So yeah, vivid internal dialogue, ringing ears at times, maybe hearing a voice, hearing your name being called, all kind of as characteristics of clairaudience. Also, then I talked about this a little bit in the first episode. About how do you discern what's spirit, what's not. So the question that I read about in the article I read about clairaudience was somebody asking, how do I know that the voices that I hear are spirit and it's not a mental illness, right? Which I think is a valid concern, right? Like sure, like you're hearing a voice that can be spirit, right? Like what is that? And what was said is that spirit won't cause any sort of distress.
Yeah.
If
I
you,
think that's true across the
right,
board.
because if you hear about somebody that maybe has schizophrenia or some sort of psychotic, you know, moment, right? Something's an episode. I feel like, and I can't speak to it, I haven't experienced it, and I don't work with that, right? But just like, maybe, I don't know if you have any experience with people or clients or whatever, but I feel like there's probably an element of distress, like, but I had to do it. It was like, I had to do it. There was something was telling me I had to do it. And it's like, it feels urgent and it feels scary and it feels like
it's scary,
it's
and there's
distressing.
this like,
Yes.
anxiousness, and
Yes.
yeah.
You being like hearing spirit or hearing your guides will not feel like distress. It won't cause you anxiety.
No.
It won't cause you, it won't be like, hey, you need to go out there and, do whatever. Like, it won't be like that.
You might feel urgency in the sense of like excitement, or
Yeah.
okay, I got to get this thing done, or I feel like I have to move with it, but it's not going to be foreboding. It's not going to say anything negative about you.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's not
And
negative.
I think that's like probably something that a lot of people would wonder, right? And I actually had a client, I feel like I'm trying to remember the exact situation and I can't, but I remember like she's very intuitive, and I brought things through and I was validating experiences for her. And then she said like, I don't know what people are going to think. They're going to think like I'm mentally ill. And I think that's a real concern with a lot of people, right? Like, yeah, like
I still think that
right?
it's something that, like, I think because this work is not, it's not like mainstreamed really. It's still,
We're still working with the shadows of it,
yeah, there's still some fear around it, and I know that I still have that fear there. Like, I'm gonna be the first to admit, to say that, like, it's not like I go up to people and I say, and they ask, what do you do for work, and I say, I'm a medium, you know.
You know what this reminds me of is normally I'd say like, oh, so usually I say I own my own business, and then they go, oh, what do you do? I'm a medium and an intuitive mentor. And I have said that, right, many times, but it's interesting you say that because this has been on my mind. A couple of days ago, I had an appointment and I was like filling out insurance forms or whatever. And then I said, so where do you work? And I said, currently unemployed. And it came out, and I don't know why it came out. And then afterwards I went, what the hell? Did I just shame myself? Like,
Yeah.
why did I say that?
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of being a medium. Like, why wouldn't I just tell her?
No.
And I don't know where it's been sitting with me, and I've been contemplating it, and in a episode way back we did about the witch wound, right? And about fear of
That's
expressing and
sure.
being yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it. I think part of it is like, do I, and maybe it's a intuitive thing. Like, maybe the reason that sometimes I feel like, no, I'm just going to say it, there's no hesitation, is because that person's open to it. Maybe the times that I feel like, I'm going to say I'm currently on it, maybe that person would have been like,
or I just, you don't say anything else,
like maybe
right?
she wouldn't have
Yeah.
been okay with that herself. So maybe that's an intuitive thing. But I think that's important, like, to even sit there and try to like discern that, like, why was it okay to say it then and not then? Like, maybe it's not me shaming myself, maybe it was intuitively my guide saying,
up on that,
hey, like, maybe not this time.
Like,
right, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know,
because you never, like, you never know how people react. I do feel like there's sometimes there's like people that I'm like, you know what, I feel like I can tell you that this is what I do. Yeah. It's so funny because even like doing my taxes, and I forgot my like whatever password, so I had to call the government.
they're like, what?
And they're like, oh, so what did you say that your entrepreneurship was? And I said, psychic medium. But in that tone too, and the guy went, okay.
I'm sure he's heard it before.
I'm sure he's like, I mean, I've heard other things, so like, whatever. But like, yeah. But it's just part of, and again, I think it goes back to us talking about part of my journey for me personally is that confidence piece.
Yeah.
And
owning it.
owning it, right? I'm a psychic medium, or even at the work that I do currently with kids, there is some people that they don't like view it as helpful. They don't think the work is helpful, right? There's people that have their own like thoughts on it, or they have, you like haven't heard of what that is, right? The type of work that I do with kids. But so being confident is just a
and that's how we heal that, like that part of ourselves that fears judgment or othering and potentially past life stuff coming up. Right? We couldn't be ourselves. That still comes up because we're still healing it. And not only we're healing it individually, we're healing it like collectively. Yeah.
I'm more comfortable telling people I watch like Bigfoot shows and UFO should they tell me?
Are you? Yeah, because there must be some element for you that you feel like that's more mainstream.
There's a degree of separation there.
Yeah,
I'm not in that show.
Either. Right, you're not doing that work. Yeah, I got it. I gotcha.
Yeah, but again, anyways, my own journey. But I'm sure some people might be able to.
No, I think the shares are helpful for our viewers because I think the whole point is just to normalize the process and the thought process and the mindsets and all of these things that we still feel.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting because I gave a reading to our old neighbors. So sweet with how, and they're two guys, like they were just the sweetest, and it was so amazing how one of them came up to me and he said, and he's actually from Halifax.
Okay.
Are you giving readings, like in that amazing East Coast accent? And I said, yeah, I do. He goes, I was like, oh my God, sounds like you're giving readings. That's pretty cool. Because he could hear me. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't tell a lot of people that I do it because you never know how people are going to react. And he ended up asking me for a reading. And he said, you know what? Part of the reason why I came to you is because you told me that you don't like necessarily advertise it. And for him, it felt like there was a little bit of a trust, because in a way, like I don't know, I was very open and maybe honest about it already. So I don't know, but it was.
And did you do it? Did it go well?
Yeah.
So I don't have the East Coast. So I'm from the East Coast, in case anybody's wondering what that's about. I don't have the East Coast accent, although some people say they can hear it in certain words that I use.
I'm sure it's still, it's definitely still there in certain words.
I've also been married to an Torontonian for 18 years, so I feel like his accent. And I've lived in Ontario for 9 years, so I feel like his accent is rubbing off on me a little bit. Like I've noticed
that beautiful Ontarian accent.
Yeah, it's funny because I've noticed I've changed the way, like sometimes when I listen to things that I like, if I'm listening to my daily tarot pull or something, and I'm like, I noticed that I say family, like the A sounds different, family, whereas before it would be like family. You know, like I noticed certain
it's the A
that I pronounce differently.
How do you say pasta?
I say pasta, but I know some people say pasta. I would not.
Because in Ottawa, people say pasta. Here in Toronto, people say pasta.
Interesting. Yeah, it's very cool.
think. I was just told it's funny how you say pasta. And even milk.
Milk? How is it
milk? Said? Alex does say it like milk.
Milk. I think Scott told me when he was little, he called it milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, eh? I feel like I'll go back. I'm moving back to the East Coast next year. It will come back. You know, when it comes out when I have a few drinks, and then it's like, there's
it goes out. There you go.
There you are. Yeah, and I'll say like very East Coast things like, oh, that's a sin. That drives my husband crazy. He goes, it's not a sin. What do you mean it's a sin? And I'm like, oh, that's a sin.
That's a sin.
If the cat, if you step on the cat's tail, it's like, what a sin. And he's like,
so funny.
What a sin? That's just right?
But you're literally just saying, what a shame, or what a...
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Maybe that's not
sin.
Just an East Coast saying, but it definitely feels like an East Coast
I'm going to start just saying that.
What a sin.
What a sin. It's funny when you say it. Anyways,
funny.
I love our conversations. Lots of sidebars.
I love it too, because
I feel like I also
it's not supposed to be scripted. It's supposed to be, hey, we're
It's
sitting
a
down, we're having a
conversation.
chat over a couple drinks or a cup of tea, and this is what we would chat about. Because this is literally what we would chat about if we were together.
It is. Let's
What we
be
would
honest.
chat about. Yeah. So it's authentic to us for sure.
I love it.
Do you have a card for us?
Yep. I'm gonna find it in 2 shakes. Okay. I pulled from the Ask Your Guides Oracle deck.
Mm-hmm.
And the card that I pulled is New Life. I love this card. It says Divine Mother. So conception, keywords are conception, pregnancy, children, birth. So it says, whether you're a man or a woman, you're feminine or they, or non-binary, I'm just going to include our non-binary friends, your feminine earthy side is in full bloom. The wishes, dreams, and desires you've carried in your heart are now gestating in the divine womb and are coming into fruition. So it feels like it's just a lot of talk of manifestation. It says, if you're married or partnered, this may signal that children are on the way. Whatever you seek to create, it's happening. The song in your heart will find its voice. Oh, I really love that. Oh, that's so fitting, isn't it? Voice, finding our voice, being comfortable, right, in our own skin. The poetry will be expressed. Even your professional goals will find home in which to grow. The Divine Mother, the fertile aspect of the Divine Feminine, is gracing your life right now, and with her influence, your artistic and creative expression comes alive. If you've been feeling sterile, stagnant, and too controlled, that's funny, right? We were talking about that previously. She's here to loosen things up and get your creative juices flowing. Surrender your mind and allow your soul to come alive in her embrace. She is with you, and her influence is powerful. Her message is new life is on its way.
Did you realize that today, the day we're recording, it is a full moon in Capricorn?
Are you shitting bricks? Sorry. Really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Today. Yeah.
And we're talking about new life.
Yeah. And also some of the things you're talking about made me really feel like a bit of that Capricorn. And we're both Capricorns, right?
Capricorns.
So it's probably big energy for us.
Big energy.
Yeah.
Also, I was gonna say, like, the moon is a very feminine energy.
Yes. What was I was just reading something about this. It's like something about, like because the moon is in Capricorn, but we're in Cancer season, and like what they both bring to the table, like they're almost opposing sometimes, right? Like, and how this is really about like balancing the doing and the being.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool.
Wow.
That when you started talking, I'm like, okay. When you said that new life, I was like, okay, yeah, this is a message about the full moon. Okay.
I totally didn't even realize that.
Yeah. Oh. I noticed it because when we agreed to record today, we were going to record yesterday, and we did it today, and I was like, oh, I see what you're doing.
I understand why.
Because we talked about the moon cycles the last time we got together, so I was like, I see what you're doing. Now Spirit's manipulating this, so we do it today and on the.
Yeah, who's really steering the ship? Not us.
Nope. But we trust, and we just go, okay.
But we trust you guys, don't worry.
So I felt called to pull from the Starseed Oracle
which also very feminine deck.
Yes, and last week episode I pulled a card that was an intergalactic guide and brought through that kind of messaging. So I kind of was feeling the Starseed energy. Love it. So the card we got is Star Bathing. I also love that because last week's card came in about, getting outside under the stars. It kind of brought that up too. So light body crystal grid transmission activation. This so let me just see. So it says, if you pull this card, you may be being called to begin working with the stars and the crystalline grid of the earth. Some people believe that the crystalline grid of the earth anchors divine cosmic frequencies onto the planet. You may be guided to journey to particular places on earth to unlock these cosmic codes with your presence. You may be interested in a practice called star bathing. And then there's like a link to a meditation that maybe I will link in the star notes or in the show notes. This card commonly arises because you're here to connect with the crystalline grid of the earth, either in your hometown or by traveling to other places without quite knowing why. It can also mean that your light body, which is the energy body in its highest form, is being activated. If this resonates, take things extra slow in order to integrate this change in vibration. I love that because I feel like in last week or one of the previous episodes, I feel like I talked about that. Did I?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I know I talked about it on my own like page about how I was getting downloads from spirit about how sometimes we feel stalled and stagnant and like we need to make a change, and then we do. And we're like, okay, great. Relief is imminent. Like I'm going to feel great as soon as I make this change.
Yes.
And we don't always receive it. More often than not, we not receive it immediately. And then we get into the self-doubt. Maybe I didn't make the right decision. I made the change. I thought I would be happier now. Like, why aren't I happier? And what was coming through and what's coming through now as a reminder for us all is that it takes time to integrate that new energy. It takes time to release the old. Like we've been living in the old. Think about like a change that you want to make, right? Like say for you, it was, I want to leave this behind. I want to go back to school. I have a new dream, right? And it's like, I'm sure in the process of making that decision, or even immediately after you did, you might have still felt like, oh, I don't know. Like, did I make the right decision? Right. Because you expect to immediately be in that new energy. But it took time for you to get there.
Yeah.
We had to integrate it. We had to fully let go of the old energy. So that's just a reminder, like today being the full moon in Capricorn, we're releasing all that old stuff, welcoming in the new. Just a reminder, results aren't always immediate. Give yourself time to integrate that new energy. Don't get down on yourself or feel as if you made the wrong decision and get into that second guessing place because you don't feel immediate relief. It will come.
It's not like if I ask for that new car, I'm not going to get it the next day. I need to make sure that I'm putting the energy into saving my pennies.
Yeah, that's the action part of mint.
Right? Doing the action in order to like get there. It's something, maybe the car will magically come. Sometimes it can.
It will be right around the, I would like to shamelessly plug myself at this moment. And you kind of know, but this reminds me of, so I, on my website, which is theintuitiverising.com, I have a blog section. So at the top, it's a soul blog. I usually do one about once a week. The last blog I wrote is about manifestation. And it was through the lens of like, manifesting love in your life, manifesting a relationship. But as I explained in the post, it's just the basics of manifestation, in my opinion, through the lens of finding a new relationship, right? But
in other words, you can use that format with basically anything.
And I actually came up, it's funny, I actually came up with like what I called the 4 Ds of manifestation. And I didn't get this from anywhere. I just kind of like channeled it. So I'll tell you what those 4 Ds are. I'm just going to find
That's so cool. I love that.
So it was like the number 1 was declaration.
Okay.
So this is helpful on a new moon or a full moon. And I know this episode will air after the full moon, but we got another one coming up, right? And then every month it happens. So, and you don't have to wait for a full moon to manifest, by the way, but just in case you want to. First one was declaration. So getting really intentional and clear about what it is that you actually want. You're declaring it, right? The second one is daydreaming. So this is where you're thinking about how it's going to feel, imagining it, spending some time there, like energetically in your mind, right? Because your body doesn't know that it's not happening if your mind is telling it is. Right. So I think it's really helpful to get into that space. Then the third step is doing, right? Doing. This is when we're like, so in the article it's talking about like manifesting that new relationship. So doing, I said, could be taking an action step, putting yourself out there in some way. And I said, often this is the stage that will stretch us, because we can't, in order to get something we don't have, we have to do something we haven't done before. So you're likely to feel stretched in this part. But, an example of that through this lens was maybe trying online dating, maybe putting yourself into like just joining
something you normally
doing
wouldn't.
something new, putting yourself in new situations, new kind of hobbies, whatever it is, through the intention of maybe I'll meet somebody through doing this. Like that's an example of action steps in manifestation.
Yes.
And the last one I came up with was delegate, which is then it's like I'm handing over to spirit, right? Now you can bring it to me. I've done everything I can.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That just came to me and I thought it was cool. So if you want to
I do think that's cool. Yeah.
So
Shameless plug, Amy.
So it's just because sometimes those things stick when I think about things. So if I now moving forward, if I'm like, well, how do I manifest again? Right. I'm like the 4 Ds, and I can remember those things.
I like that. It's easy to remember. It's a nice little kind of toolkit. It breaks it down into a way that I feel like for myself, I understand. That makes sense for me.
Makes sense for you.
Yeah, I like that. It's not yeah.
It's like declare. Okay, I know what declare means. Daydream. Okay, I know what that means. Do. I got it.
Yeah.
Delegate. I know what that means. It means I hand it over to somebody, right? Like, so, I just wanted to share that because it might be helpful to you guys moving forward on this day. Do you have anything you want to share? Anything you're up to?
No, just you can head on over to my website, eabsoulwork.com.
Yeah,
and book a reading. I do group readings, mini readings, and of course, personal readings all over Zoom. And mini readings are very similar to how Amy, I think you do them. They're also pre-recorded and sent to you.
Yeah, I'm similar in the sense that I do like a one-on-one, which means we're together like Erin and I are right now, or things are pre-recorded. So could work better for you if you're in a different time zone or something like that. You have a really busy schedule, but energy is energy, so it doesn't really matter if we're with you or not.
Doesn't matter. It's the same process.
Doesn't matter. So
yes,
I thank you, Erin. Thanks. This is a wonderful conversation. These
thank
are
you,
long
Amy.
episodes.
Yes,
but we had a lot to catch up on, and we will see you again
on the other side.
Week. Yeah, on the other side, where we continue to talk about the clairsentience. I want to say clairsentience, so that will be the next episode. I feel we'll talk about clairsentience.
You love it. Sorry.
Have a good day, everyone. Bye. Thanks for listening.
If you like what you're hearing, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and tune in each week as we dish on all things spiritual.
Don't forget to like, comment on what you would like to hear us talk about next, and subscribe.